Seed talk, stuff to make your seeds walk. Check it out. We got my man Chris. Tell him what's up, and we got a special guest. Tell him who you are, brother.
Hey, man, I'm glad to be here, Logic. My name is Toby Hicks, co-host of Dope Dealers Podcast.
Okay.
And hold on, a stand-up comedian for how many years now, Toby?
I done lost track, like 25 now.
Okay.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been in the game since I was like 18. You feel me? Took some layoffs, and I know Chris been in the game for a minute, and we all do I still do creative content. I just now wrote and produced, direct, and a sitcom. That's out. The first episode came out. We all do comedy. We're comedians. So for me, that I want to begin.
Hold on, but I want to say this though. The difference between Toby is he's done like all deaf digital. He's in the murk of it in Hollywood. He does Chocolate Sundays frequently. He has his credits.
I mean, I've been doing that since it started. I've been doing that since it started.
Yeah, so he's a whole different. So what I'm striving for, he's OGing. You know what I mean? And so that's why we bring him on for that. Like he has that experience that and that voice. For me, I feel like that is.
No, I feel you.
Comes from wisdom. So I'm not taking nothing away from you and I's experience, but he's definitely OG to me.
Chris, I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Say that we're in the minor leagues and he's in the big leagues. We get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just years of work. I mean, I've been to like 15 countries performing for the military, all type of shit, in Iraq, Afghanistan, and every hood environment you could be in, every corporate environment damn near you could be in. It's just a lot of situations, but I'm glad to be here on Seed Talk.
All praises due, man. It feels good to be in the room with some fellow cloth and some fellow comedians, especially someone like you and Chris, who got way more experience on stage than I do. But we're all humorous, and yeah, man, we respect this craft. You feel me? And I want to begin where I want to end. It's about for me, it's about respecting the craft. And when we're talking about Joe Rogan saying the word nigga or nigger and referring to black people as apes, as being a comedian himself, hanging around black people, I want to begin where we in, and I want to put this on the screen right now. Is canceling or checking Joe Rogan threaten our freedom of speech? And so I'm all about freedom of speech, but I'm all about, dealing with the consequences of what you say too. So we're going to go through this real quick. There was a montage, dang near playlist of Joe Rogan laughing. That's what humorists do. I'm laughing at something that people are taking very seriously, and they're canceling their Spotify subscriptions. India Irie is hot. You know what I'm saying? Chris says she had a very classy reaction.
I thought it was very classy, but very firm.
Yeah. I saw what's the old boy's name from South Africa? The brother. What's his name?
Trevor Noah.
Trevor. I seen Trevor's joint, and of course I seen the montage and heard the montage of Joe Rogan using the word nigger several times, and then he dropped the Planet of the Apes comment saying he stepped out the neighborhood and looked like Planet of the Apes and stuff like that. I want to start with y'all first. Toby, why don't you go first, man? Why don't you go in first, man? And what's your reaction?
I mean, it was horrible all the way around. The N-word, all those times. If it had just been once, maybe even twice, maybe could have said, okay, he's wrong for that, but oh well. But when you see all those different times and different outfits and different shirts and different beard lengths and different hair, he had hair, didn't have hair, all those different times him saying it.
You said you could tell it was going through a duration of time.
Yes, yes. It's in, so that just lets you know it's embedded.
Toby, you can't be doing this to the production quality, bro.
Yep.
Toby,
And then,
Hey, we lost you. We lost
I'm
you.
here.
There you go. You're good. There you go.
Go
Yep.
ahead.
Yep.
Yeah. No, and I said and being the fact that just lets you know obviously it's embedded in him. And then the ape situation, say he went to go seen it in Philadelphia, so we know which is predominantly black, and he's calling everybody apes. That's another thing. Then the misinformation regarding COVID. I mean, so it's not just one thing. It's not just the N word that just gets me so furious when it comes. It's just the whole. It's all of this shit combined. Uh, Makes it tough to stomach. It ain't. He's coming at you from all different angles. I mean, he's having white supremacists on the show, and but that's his audience. So no, it shouldn't be. Joe shouldn't be canceled or nothing. But see, he should just be exposed for the person that he is and the way he has been. But I don't want to forget this part. Like for some people, they might have worked with Joe. Joe might have put money in their pocket, and he might have been cool with them, and I can understand that. And they have a right to still feel good about it if they want to or whatever. But I mean, like if it was me, if I had worked with Joe, I would have come out and I would have handled it either two ways. Either I would have not said nothing at all, or I'd have come out and said, well, I worked with Joe for years. He's done a lot for me. He put money in my pocket. But, what he did was horrific. It shouldn't have been done. I talked to him and told him that I was disappointed in him for these actions. And, but that's where I stand. And there's nothing wrong with that. But to just hear people just come out and say, I just support him and just leave it at that, then it's like, how? I mean, how can you just say you support him without giving some type of premise when there's been such horrific things said, even, speaking of having young female comics do sexual favors with him just for stage time and stuff like that on his podcast, and Joe just laughing and agreeing with it. It's just been so much that it's just tough
Wait. Hold on.
to handle all of it.
Hold on. He said that he has had women comics exchange sex for stage time. He has.
He's been involved in conversations, and
Oh, he involved.
Yeah, he was involved. Joe didn't say, but one of his best friends in the business said it, and then Joe was right there laughing and agreeing with it, and he would have been around. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure the whole, birds of a feather flock together. I'm sure they all have taken part in it. They was all at the venue together every night.
Okay. That's fair.
And it's like, with the whole compilation of the things, it makes it horrific, more horrific than just the N-word and the apes, which is just, I mean, but like I said, nobody should cancel them. People have a right to leave Spotify. Go right ahead.
Okay, so Toby, so it's numerous things that you brought up, and that was good because I like that you went out of the spectrum in the circle of just him saying the word nigger. You talked about, number one, him saying the word nigger. You talk about him calling black people apes. I don't think people understand, or some people might not know the reference. He said he stepped out the car, and I think he actually said a nigger neighborhood.
He said we was going to see Planet of the Apes, and we stepped out the car, and we was in Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, okay.
He was in Philadelphia.
He said, no, he actually, you know what he said? And then he said, I thought I was in Africa. Remember? And I was like, wow. I mean, who's wow.
And then what about the comment? And then also the comments of when he had the gentleman on and he said that, there's no real black people in America, it's all different shades. He said the only black people are in Africa walking around naked.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I read that too. So then you said you have a problem with the quote unquote COVID misinformation. Yeah. And then you said he basically aligns himself and is kind of like an accessory And what I hear you say is guilty because of association, because he aligns himself with comedians who have said, you know, women comedians can trade sex for stage time, and they laugh about it. I mean, he pretty much does locker room humor. He's very sophomoric. I mean, and I'm gonna go to Chris, but I'm gonna push back a little bit. Mm-hmm. His humor is very, very adjacent to Dave Chappelle.
A little bit, but here's the thing, though. At the end of the day, though,
it's very sophomoric humor.
But here's the thing, though. I think the difference between Dave,
intelligence too, but it's very sophomoric. It's high school type stuff.
I don't think. But here's the difference between them two, though. I think Dave is a little more aware of the character side of everything. Dave would have not went to that extreme around. Now, even though he's pushed the line, though, we've seen him push the line. There's a difference between
the LGBTQIA community.
You're not gonna catch Dave have a conversation like you know what I mean. Have a conversation with someone else around. That's some pretty intense stuff,
Chris.
That's some
intense. Made us laugh about Michael Jackson allegedly raping children. I was crying.
Yeah, that's different than
yeah, but that's different. That's different than denigrating a race, though. That's different. That's different than denigrating a race, bro. That don't even compare to the same thing as what Joe Rogan did.
Yeah.
Speaking about Michael Jackson, that's one individual. This man denigrated the whole black culture, every black in the world.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's crazy.
Hold on, time out. And I want to go to Chris of his reaction. I give you that it was one individual, but a person could say, or people could say, he is aligning himself with justifying and making it funny of the crimes that pedophiles do to children.
Hey, but here's one more thing too, though, right?
The difference between that.
Here's one more thing too. Is like, this is about Joe Rogan. See, that's the problem with us. A lot of times when we supposed to be talking about one individual who messed up, it leads us into, look at what so and so did. Look at this ain't Dave Chappelle time. This is Joe Rogan's time.
And then let me say this though too specifically. You got to remember, if we're talking about context, Dave Chappelle is saying these things from the stage. Joe Rogan is saying this from real life conversations like we're having right now.
Sitting on a couch.
These are his. It's like the whole thing of out of the heart flows the issues of life, right? So the whole principle, he's having conversations where this is real. These are his thoughts. This is not on the stage with a microphone. This is stuff that's happening, that's coming out of his life. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying is that you would never see, Dave's not going to do it on a podcast, be like, ha ha. He has respect for everyone he's even talked about on stage in a podcast. He's not like, ooh, did you hear Dave say that about so-and-so on a podcast? No. And I think that's where, and then especially for him to go, that's where the challenge I'm having is that where it's not the canceling. Again, it's the accountability around, you got out of the car and said it was like Africa and Planet of the Apes. Bro, that's some heavy. I'm still messed up around that. That's pretty intense.
And then ask the cab driver, and then he asked the cab driver, is this a safe neighborhood?
That's crazy.
So that means his whole mindset is always derogatory when it comes to blacks, no matter how he looks at it.
Mm-hmm. Hold on, man. Hold on. Okay. I'm going to push back a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's funny. And let me tell you the reason why I think it's funny. I think white people being scared of black people is funny. I think when we go boo and white people jump, I think that's funny. I think when white people expose themselves of how scared they are, and it's exaggerated and it has no foundation of being true, I think that's funny.
I think I would push back a little bit on that. I think there was a time when everything
he wasn't joking, though. Right. He wasn't joking.
Yeah, there's no fun to it.
That was real. Definitely a joke. It was definitely a joke.
It was a heartfelt on a podcast. You're talking about the difference between what we're doing right now is we're talking about our ideas, our viewpoints, right? The way we see the world. On stage, it's a whole different, like,
I
it's
understand
like,
that.
I'll take it like this. Michael Blackston does not talk like he does on stage.
Yeah.
That's a persona.
I've heard that. I've heard
Two
that.
different things. You know, when you talk to him, he's soft, he doesn't have the accent, right? It's all persona. He even told me that Joe Rogan, that's not persona. That was the real deal. What he gave us was the raw. You know, I'm showing you this. What he showed us was, even he said it at the end. Wow, that's pretty racist. And then he even caught himself.
So
you know what I mean? So
can I let me say something real quick?
It's not a stage, man. It's not the same. It's just not the same.
Okay. Let me say something first.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to justify what he said.
Mhm.
I'm just being honest with you. I just think that white people like him are funny. I think he's funny. I think he's funny.
I was taking nothing away from his talent at all. I think, see, that's the difference. But I feel like his view, that's where I agree with in the way India Irie handled it was very classy, but very firm around where she stood. It's not taking nothing away from his art form.
I know.
But when you say things like that, you have to be held. You have to be held accountable for. It's the character point. It has nothing to do with his craft. If he was on stage,
I know.
we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. But I feel like for him to go that route and to not be at least checked.
Too many times. It wasn't once or twice. It was too many times. It was too many. There's no justifying that.
Just give me 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And I want to stand firm on my square for 2 minutes and explain where I'm coming from. That's all I'm saying. First of all, I think that when I watch Joe Rogan and I watch his platform, his brand, his marketing, period, point blank, growing up around white people, growing up around white boys like him. I've been in, locker rooms with white people. I've been in, I think white people like him are funny. Just for so many different reasons. Not like it's like all praises to Joe Rogan. He's funny. I think Karens are funny. I think racist, ignorant, not informed white people are funny. Who, like, when I get in a room with them and I school them on some stuff, I think they're funny. That's first and foremost. I mean, that's just how I'm wired as a humorist, as a comedian. I think you're funny. Okay. And I would love to be in a room with him to like school him on some shit. You know what I'm saying? So when he says this stuff, I'm like, it's funny because you got blind spots. You're ignorant, dude. Like, you don't get it. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I think it's funny. And when he's sitting down and he's doing all his stuff on COVID and all that, I take into account that it's a show. He's putting on a show. And I am not a part of his audience that he's worried about that's giving him money. So he can offend me all day. So
I would disagree, though. I would disagree on that point, but let's go ahead, though. Because you can't you choose to not be a part of his audience, but go ahead, though. Go ahead. What were you gonna say, Tom?
I mean, it's
not logic. Let him finish.
Let me finish. Hold on. So I know that I'm not giving him $100 million. Some white executives at Spotify are giving him $100 million, and that's who he answers to. That's who he gives apologies for. He wouldn't have gave an apology. Look, bro, are you serious? He said it so many times, like Toby said, in so many different hairstyles. Facial hair was different. He's been saying it over the past years. So he's comfortable. He hangs out with Dave Chappelle. He hangs out with Talib Kweli. He hangs out with Hannibal Buress. He hangs out with black people. So we already know that he's comfortable. He thinks he gets a pass. So he's not answering to us. He's answering to people who give him $100 million. So I take that into account. And I say to myself, is it funny? Whatever. I think ignorant white people Karens, Todds, Brads, you know what I'm saying? Kens, you're funny to me. You're funny. I don't take you seriously. I think that his podcast has some guests on there that, I study, and I'd be like, oh, he had this doctor on there, this, that, and third. But he is a regular white dude who has blind spot that made it big, that occasionally hangs out with black people. I'm not distracted by him. I'm more focused on how does it impact my craft. So I hear Toby, I hear Chris, and I'm like, yeah, this is problematic. That's whack. Like, you feel me? But at the same time, people have tried to fire me from my job for saying a lot less than Joe Rogan. And I want to protect that craft.
It's not about a craft. It's not about protecting the craft, though. You're making it about the craft. It's not about that.
It is, though, because
no, it isn't. It's not about the craft. Even comedians, bro. No comedian is gonna say it's about the craft because it's not. It's not about the craft. It's his voice. He had nothing to do with stand up. It has to do with his voice and what he said that came out of his heart. It's about the person. Let's take away the whole nigger, the whole N-word thing, right? The whole N-word stuff. If he just said, I got out of the car in Philadelphia and it was like Africa and the Planet of the Apes, that's enough right there to tell you that somewhere in his heart, he's seeing people like that. You're dehumanizing a race right there. So it's not even about canceling, it's about accountability at that stage. No, we're not saying we got to police it, but there's like, dude, it's not right. It's like,
I get it. That's why I said to myself, if you really cared about us as black and brown people, you know what I mean, who support him, which I think is in the minority, we're not giving him $100 million. We're not. Right. He would have Talib Kweli and Dave Chappelle, Hannibal Buress, black people that he hangs out with and talk about his comments.
Or like I told you on the phone earlier, I think we need to go to extreme with Hannibal or even like Talib, Dave, and bring on India Ari, because that's the person that's offended. You offended India Ari. That's the person.
I agree with that.
If you want to, go ahead. Go ahead.
Better perspective. But what I'm saying is,
go ahead, Toby.
Oh, go ahead, Lodge. I was gonna say, Lodge, you like what you're saying. You have a right to feel the way you do and look at it from the way you're looking at it.
Absolutely.
But see, the problem is that you're coming at it from a humorous side or whatever. But the other millions of black people they're not. There's no way they could come from the side that you're coming from. You have a right to come from that side, but the masses ain't. And he knows what he's doing, and he doesn't even feel like he has a past because, as he said, that was years ago. I don't say it anymore. I know how bad it is. So now he's lying. He still says it. I mean, you just tell when this that embedded. You don't just stop all of a sudden, you know. And the thing about it is that it hurts so many people, but it doesn't have to do with any cancer. I mean, then people know who he is, and they have a choice to listen to him or not. But it's so much, man. The misinformation. Like, I know a woman who said that her brother and his wife, that they were big Joe Rogan fans. They listened to every episode. Because now, this is not us because we're sharper enough to not let Joe Rogan be get medical advice from him. There's no way, or anybody like that on TV. But this couple believed in everything he said. They didn't get vaccinated. The husband died first, then the wife died. They got 3 kids, and they both died because they didn't get vaccinated. And she says, and this is a white woman that says that it came because they didn't do it because Joe Rogan told them not to. Now, deep down, they were adults. They weren't minors. So deep down, they should know better. But this is the stuff that's happening, man. This is how deep it is. So we got to look at the whole realm of this, man. And no good person have these many different negative things attached to them.
Hold on.
It's humanly impossible.
I would say just a quick to add on that. I feel like that's the responsibility, though.
I'm just gonna say that's not fair.
No, it's not. They were grown. It's not his fault. But you know what I'm saying. The
It's a
same way people listen
responsibility.
to Trump and they didn't go get vaccinated. Now, should
There
they
you
have
go.
listened to Trump or Joe Rogan? No, we know they shouldn't. But we're different people. We're sharper than that. But just think about
Right.
somebody, a white person that didn't even graduate high school in a rural area, listening to that. Their mind could be coerced into believing that and doing the shit.
Hold on,
Yeah.
Toby. Let
Toby,
me
yeah.
real quick.
Us.
Yeah, okay, I got you. Go ahead. Yeah.
Hold on. Let me tell you why that's not fair. Because I've seen several Joe Rogan episodes where he's never said don't get vaccinated. He's never said that.
I seen it. He has said it. I seen it when he said it.
What he has said is some people don't need to get vaccinated based on the criteria by the CDC saying who is, more prone to die when they get COVID. You're bringing in a whole different element of it, but he's had doctors.
Well,
But I think
I seen.
Hold on. Kobe, hold on. He's had people on his show that have actually checked him on his COVID information and pushed back and actually proved him wrong. So he has a diverse group of people on his show to converse with when it comes to COVID and stuff. So,
but I would say this at the end of the day, though, what Toby's talking about is whether or not he wants to be responsible for his words, they impact people. Now, there are people at different. I feel like that's my thing is that whether or not you want to take that on, you're still impacting people when you do podcasts. Period. Now, it doesn't mean that they got a choice, but still, though, it's still coming out the same way. Different than being on stage again, because people are coming to hear you laugh.
It's the same way Trump said, go down to that Capitol building. And white folks, look. There was people there who had families, businesses. These weren't all just. I mean, look how that conversation does turn some people into making mistakes that could cost them their life. Now, is it Joe Rogan's fault? No, deep down, we know better. It's not his fault. But some of this shit is his fault, bro. It really is. Because he's spreading that to 11 million people. So out of 11 million people, all it takes is a couple, 2 or 3 to really listen and let themselves go and die. And that shit, that blood is on him.
Okay. So we're just talking about his comments in general now. That's
so I'm just saying
his voice. We're talking about his voice because I feel like
the whole thing, man. You know, people are paying attention more to it because of the way the N-word situation came out, and that's the thing too. Like here's the bottom line.
Hold on, Toby. Why do you keep saying N-word? You can't. So as black people, we can't say word nigger.
No, I don't mind saying nigga, but at the beginning of the thing, you said we was keeping it clean. You said. No, I thought you said we was keeping it clean because I would have been saying a whole bunch of other words. But here's the point. Now that I know, but at the beginning, don't you remember saying I keep my podcast clean?
I was trying to keep
I do.
Yeah, okay. So when you said you do, I figured I had to. It's your podcast.
No. I don't cuss. I was trying not to cuss because you don't cuss. Yeah, go ahead.
But damn, there goes a wee moment. But hold on, so damn, I forgot what I was going to say.
While you're saying that, here's my thought around just in general. Here's the way I was raised. I feel, even just with my godfather, I feel like whenever you decide to speak, or you're an author, or even I think comedy on some level, but it all depends. But I think whenever you're getting on a podcast, it's like with that, I think you have to understand I feel like there's a responsibility that I have that someone's going to take what I have to say as truth, right? That's how we develop followers, right? And so, and I've seen this myself. I remember over the years in following, and I still have a high respect for my godfather, but he was a mega church pastor, and for a long time, everything was gospel. And a lot of people do this with their, they deify their pastors, right, or their leaders, whatever they are. in whatever they're in, right? And I think the challenge is the accountability factor. Is that, you know, no matter what you're doing, whether you're a comedian, whether you're a pastor, whether you're a politician, your words are going to affect people. And we've seen it time and time again where it affect them negative, positive, or whatever, you know, it can affect them, you know, in a way that will take their lives. You know what I mean? In my case, my godfather, you know, had some challenges, you know, ended up having to, you know, some challenges with the IRS at the end of the day. And that affected a lot of people. You know what I mean? And because they were so closely following someone. And I think that's where, I mean, we know better than that, right? When it comes to Joe Rogan or anyone, but at the same time, too, it's the accountability factor. I think, you know, we just live in a different time where to some people, yeah, we come from a place where we can brush it off. Yeah. But you got a lot of people that are even afraid to. I know people in the industry that are even afraid to even speak out because they don't want to mess up their connections. You know, remember what I mean, Toby?
Mm-hmm.
You got comedians that are afraid to talk about their truth. But what happened to like Fight the Power and all this other hip hop stuff against that? But you know, I mean, it's almost like people don't want to just call it what it is when it comes out, but it's still there. And I think that's where, and I'm talking from just a general, you know, perspective, not, you know, but
I mean,
you know,
it's the same. It's the same as when Trump like talked to those people on January 6th and they ran up into the Capitol. It's the same effect that Joe is having on certain people. Not every person, but certain people. And it's like, I mean, look at it. But see, we're different because look at it. Barack Obama, when he was president, Barack could have told us, hey, look, y'all, they got Michelle, Oprah, and Beyonce. They holding them hostage in the Capitol building. And niggas still wouldn't have ran up in the Capitol building. We wouldn't have paid our motherfucking way to DC and all that old shit. We'd have been like, well, how are we supposed to get there, Barack? Who's buying the ticket? Them white folks, he talked to them into a manner to where they just ran off, spent their own money, and ran up in the motherfucking building. And Joe Rogan got that same type of power with those white folks that follow him. Because most of his followers aren't the most educated people in the world. So they will fall into the trap of doing and just believing everything he says and letting it totally affect their life. You won't, because you got a whole different mindset.
I agree. Look, when people have a good point, I'm gonna say they got a good point. You and Chris got a good point.
Right.
And I know, and I'm confident that Joe Rogan has millions of followers, literally millions. He's the greatest and popular podcaster, if not just in the United States. I mean, he might be the most.
I think I might have seen where it might be had the biggest following in the world. I could be wrong on that too. I think I seen that shit.
So with that you're right. You guys are right. He does have a responsibility. And I would say that you don't always have to hold on and accept that responsibility, but you have to deal with the consequences. And the way he's dealing with the consequences is saying, I have all this power and my responsibility is held up in Spotify because they're giving me $100 million. That's what I'm saying. And what I'm saying as a listener, as a receiver of what he is saying, instead of, and I'm not taking any responsibility away from Joe Rogan. I think y'all two brothers are right. Y'all right and exact. When he says stuff that's not cool, that's racist, that's bigoted, that is inappropriate, you shouldn't say it. I agree with you. Because he has the responsibility not to say it because he has so much power and influence. And the reason why I agree with y'all too is because I know that as a principal. I can't just be walking through the schools in the hallways, calling kids out of their names. Wait, hold on. I can't even call a kid I can't be like, you're a badass kid. I can't even say that, even though their actions are bad. Because of the influence and power I have.
Look,
Parents, students cuss me out almost daily.
Mhm.
I have the responsibility to be like, I make 6 figures. You know what I'm saying? I got a
Hey.
tie on. You know, I'm gonna do this paperwork. I'm gonna be professional. I get it. Because I accept that responsibility. He has a right not to accept that responsibility. He has a right to say, my boss, my God, my supervisor, my manager is Spotify. If they tell me to apologize because they're giving me $100 million, that's what I'm going to do. I just want people to understand that's how the game works. And don't focus on Joe Rogan. Focus on educating yourself, whether it's COVID, whether it's the use of the word nigger, whether it's social justice, whatever. Don't just follow Joe Rogan. Educate yourself. And I know I'm speaking from a position of privilege. I want you to get to the point where you like, this is I'm going to take it as it goes. This is just a funny freaking white boy with blind spots. That's not my focus. Keep it moving. The number 2 thing I want to say, because I know Toby want to say something. Hold on.
Before I forget, you know what?
I got one more thing to say, because y'all been talking a lot. I want to say one more thing. I'm going to push back on you, Chris. Because as a comedian, this is my brand right now. A podcast. Us, you know, talking, shooting stuff. I could say something in this podcast that could be quote unquote inappropriate, that could get me canceled. One of y'all could say the word bitch. Y'all could say any of the inappropriate words. Y'all could use a homophobic slur. And I would defend y'all and be like, this is our brand. No, we're comedians. We're talking about this.
No, I would disagree though. Podcasts aren't the brand of a comedian. The podcast is different than stand-up. I would say that you've chosen this as your avenue as a comedian, but you can't put this. A comedian's not going to say this is part of this is an avenue for you. But I feel like you stand-up is not podcasting.
It's not the same.
It's not the same thing.
No, I'm not. No, wait. Time out, fellow comedians. I'm not saying it's the same. I'm saying it's an extension. I've heard Dave Chappelle say some stuff that is adjacent to what off the stage that he says on the stage. Like, for instance, he was in a room with Daniel Caesar. Y'all remember this? He's like, oh, this dude's hella gay. And then Daniel Caesar was like, oh man, what are you saying? But that was an extension of his stage performance. He was like, yeah, you don't remember that? Google it.
I didn't see it, but what I mean, I'm not. I mean, the point of it is that
he still has to be accountable for his. Even Dave has to be accountable for his.
Absolutely.
I mean, he has to be. And he has been.
It's not.
Y'all really want that smoke? I don't think y'all want that smoke. I don't think you want the smoke where you're on a podcast and you can't say certain things.
You know what, man? I mean, it wasn't just once, homie.
I know that, homie.
I mean, it's
never going to be once. It's
never.
Look.
Listen.
Basketball court in the barbershop. It's never once.
Okay, but
you
listen.
Know how reckless we talk as black men.
But here's but
still,
hold on, Joe Rogan's not black though. That's the problem.
Hold on, look, and here's the thing, man. Out of all the years of comedy, all the jokes I told, I never sat down and put on paper something that was going to be such a joke that was going to hurt a race of people. My mind has never thought like that. I've never said nothing on none of my podcasts, nothing that was racial at all has ever come out of my mouth.
That's you.
But I'm just saying, so because it doesn't even make sense to me to go down that road. There's so much funny. I mean, now I've said certain things on stage that might have been more racial than the podcast, because the podcast, you got time to really think. If you're on stage and you in the middle and it's 500 people staring at you and your mind is all over the place, then you might react different. And that's more excusable than sitting down, prepping, getting ready, and then nigga come out your mouth. You got notes, you got everything there written, and then that's what comes up out your mouth. And here's the thing is that even though I don't like how they find shit on people that they did years ago and try to bring it back. I'm not really a fan of that type of shit. But here's what Joe Rogan could have done. Okay, Joe Rogan knew that he said all those fucked up things in the past. So when Joe Rogan got the $100 million deal with Spotify, here's what Joe Rogan should have done. He should have came out at that time and said, hey, look, I've had some episodes on here in the past and said some things that I'm ashamed of. Okay, blah, 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 blah. I will not be saying nothing like that in the future on my podcast, but I did it in the past. I apologize. I'm sorry. Let's move forward. And nobody would have said shit to him about his $100 million deal. But he tried to play it like, fuck it, it's there. They might not see it. The people that don't listen, they ain't gonna know about it. But the people that follow me, they know how I am. And this is the motherfucking rallying cry to him. So that shit's still there for him. That's all he had to do, and we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Hold on, Toby. Hold on. Hey. That's it, man. I agree with you. You're totally right.
That's all he had to do.
You're right.
But he didn't want to do that because he wanted the people to. He wanted that shit archived so his fans could see it whenever they want. So they always knew he was down with them.
That's
He could. Hey, those episodes were in. He's on 1800 now. Episode 1800. Most of that stuff was in the 300. He could have took those episodes down right when he signed the deal. He could have
Toby, we're saying the same thing.
He didn't have to. People didn't even have to find out about that.
Saying the same thing. We are not his audience. He is pandering to his audience. He is loyal. He has an allegiance to his audience, which is white.
He all he had to do is apologize up front. Soon as he got ready to sign his name on that contract, apology should have came out, signed his name, and told everybody to keep it moving.
Let me ask you another question real quick. What is the responsibility of the Black people, specifically Black comedians, that hang around him in his camp?
Well, like I said before, like I would hope, that like I said, if he's been cool with him and they ain't never seen that side of him, that's on them. They can, I wouldn't fault nobody for still being friends.
That side of him, everyone's seen the montage.
Well, no, what I'm saying is though, if they've been friends with him and they've had different experiences, like for years, like they might have a 10-year relationship with him, then I would hope, I'm not saying they should end their friendship, but I would hope that they would have had a conversation with him and told him like, yo, bro, this shit was foul how you did it, blah, blah, blah. And hopefully he apologized to those people and then they can move forward as they see fit. I would hope that's how it would go down. You can't just tell somebody.
Hold on, Toby. You know what Black people want to say. So what you're saying, Toby, is the Black people in his camp just say, oh, okay, yeah. All right, man. Yeah, man. Don't say that stuff again. And then continue.
No, I said if they see fit. I can't tell nobody how to think.
Well, now we talking about people on his camp or friends?
I'm talking about I'm saying even if they in his camp, like say if they feature for him, then they got to make a decision on how they feel about it.
Right. That makes it, yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they should just say, all right, I don't know how far these people go back. If they got a 10-year relationship, then maybe he's got credit built up with them. That's all I'm saying.
Hold on. Let's get into it real quick. So say you friends with Joe Rogan for 10 years. We all Black men, brown men. Feel me? Let's do it. So Toby, you friends with him, this stuff comes out, and you tour with him, Toby, and he asks you to go out on tour with him after this happens. What are you gonna do? You gonna go on tour with him or not?
That's a tough call.
Answer the question.
Well, no. I mean, it's a tough call. I mean, that's kind of one, like, unless you're in a situation. But like I said, if I've been touring with him for years, I would go out with him probably. But if he just wanted me to start touring with him now, so like I could be the protection for him, then no, I probably wouldn't. But if I had already been out with him for years, I would probably keep going out because I would have made a statement to the black people to let them know what's going on, to where they felt comfortable saying, with whatever I said. That's when I would have talked to him. If I've been working with him for 10 years, I wouldn't necessarily just stop, because at that point, I would become the voice of reason, for the people and say what's been going on. But if he just said, "Hey, Toby, you want to go out with me now?" Then no, because now I'm not being no buffer. But if I had been working with him for 10 years, then I might still keep working.
Okay.
I can't just say I would just quit that day.
Yes.
Okay. I respect that. I respect that response. That's great.
But I would have told him exactly how I felt, and then I would have did a post online to let black people know what I said to him and the way I feel. And just because, and not that I would owe them any explanation, but I would just do that because it just seems like the right thing to do. And with some of the people that are in this camp, they're not saying nothing. They just going, "I support him." Like either you support him and say why and just and explain yourself, or just don't say nothing at all. But they felt like they had to let Joe know that, "Joe, I'm supporting you. I'm standing behind you, and I ain't even saying nothing to my black people about it." See, that's where I would have been different. I could say, okay, I'll still work, but I'm gonna tell the people what's going on and what I said to them and where we at and everything. I'm not just gonna hide and just keep rolling like, okay, fuck my people.
Okay, cool, Toby. All right, Chris, what's up? You going on tour with him? You open up for him? You getting that bag? With Joe?
If you ask me, like you said, if you ask me after, or is it if I already have it?
It don't matter. You going getting that bag?
No, if he asks me after, no, because if I have a relationship with him, I'm gonna have a conversation with him about it, and I'm still even thinking about maybe no, because I disagree with the views.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like, again, if the camaraderie around comedians, I feel like if I have a relationship with you, I'm gonna call you up like I do, like I've known Toby for years. I've done a lot of shows with Toby, or even like any of the other guys. I'm gonna have a heart-to-heart first around it, and if we don't align, I'm not going. I mean, I'm just not going. I mean, no matter what. I mean, a lot of people, you just see it a lot too, where you got to really know who you are, I think, in this industry, or else you'll get pulled and end up selling yourself in one way or another. And I want to live with myself around what I want to be about as a person, not even just a comedian.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so after, I'm like, nah. I mean, but more than anything else, if I have a relationship with him, I'm having a heart-to-heart. So, which I'm sure he probably had that with like the Talib Kweli's or like the Daves. They probably had some heart-to-hearts where, like, I know from what we know, but then we'll know in a couple of weeks as it continues to unfold, though, too. So that's what's interesting about it. So I'm kind of. It'll be interesting to see how things continue to unfold, because it's still.
But here's the thing, though, too. It's like, okay, say for instance, like all of us, I mean, I can't speak for Logic, but I'm saying, okay, he got 1,800 episodes or more, or whatever it is, but we ain't listened to a whole bunch of them. It's like, but here's the thing, like, if we had been working with him for 10 years, or he'd been a true friend of ours for 10 years, I would have to think that we would already have known that this is the shit he was saying.
True.
So that's another part of it. If we've been knowing it for 10 years and we know he just said that shit, so maybe we wouldn't even been cool. Maybe the relationship wouldn't have lasted 10 years. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. But also, too, would you agree with this? Because we've talked about this before, though, Toby. I think there are people in the industry that you may not necessarily agree with how they either do business or how they show up with their values, but you're like, okay. But you coexist on some level. You don't have to be. This is a business where you can go and perform and coexist and be on your way. You don't have to always agree with where they're at, even though, because there's a lot of people I'm like, I can't hang with them, but I'll go do work with them.
And here's the thing, like I don't want to cut you up, but like going back to your point, Logic, is like there has been white comedians that have said nigger on stage, and people got upset with them. Some people, but everybody wasn't like, it wasn't like every black person wanted to just beat their ass because it was on stage. Like they knew that they didn't like it. They knew that the white comic was wrong, but they accepted it a little bit more as opposed to you just sitting around a table just chit-chatting and that's just what's coming out your mouth. I mean, I guess I've known white comics to say it, and they got checked, you know, in certain cases. In certain cases, people just kind of let it go. You know, I've seen it go both ways, is what I'm trying to say.
All right. I want to chime in real quick. I'm getting the bag no matter what. I'm going to go ahead and say that. And the reason why I'm going to say that is this. I want y'all to hear this in the right way. I make a lot of money, very good money in the education system for 24 years, especially been making really good money within the last 11 years. Not trying to justify anything that Joe Rogan says. I think the stuff that he's doing, I know what he's doing. He's appealing to his fan base. His fan base is white males. Period, point blank. It's the same.
I would disagree with you on that because you know why? Because when you choose, I have to interrupt you on that one because as soon as you chose to tour with Dave Chappelle, now it's not just whites. Now you're speaking to, it affects us, and I feel like you can't separate that.
No, I understand.
You can't separate that he's just speaking to white people.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. My bad. My bad. I got passionate.
I understand.
My bad. Yeah.
That's the political marketing move that he does. So hear me out. Joe Rogan's not dumb. And he's not surrounded by people that are dumb. I would argue, I can't prove it, but I would argue that it was a marketing move, not a sincere move. I can't prove it, though. It's my opinion. It was a marketing move to align himself with black people, like Dave Chappelle.
No, absolutely. What this?
Quali, Hannibal Buress, because he's of that cloth. He's of comedians. And I feel that if he could get around not being friends with those people and have an audience that is purely white, that he would. He would just be one of those liberal, independent, libertarian white people.
Let me tell you this right here. Right. Hold on. I mean, I got something to go right. I mean, an experience because he has it like that.
I just want to get this off, but go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm saying go ahead. He has it like that, but go ahead, finish it up.
Because every time I get cut off, I forget my point. I'm like, okay, so I don't have no way to prove it. I think just when you get to a certain level of prestige and making money, you have to address the consumer base that looks like black people, that is black people. At some point you have to, because we are not, if we're not the highest consumers in America, we're one of the highest consumers in America. So at some point, you gotta answer to us. You gotta align yourself with
not in the comedy world. Not in the comedy world. I'll give you an example, Logic.
Well, you have more experience than me.
I'm gonna give you an example. Not in the comedy. You know, if we were talking about hip hop or something else,
outside, I would disagree. But tell me how it is from the inside.
Not in the comedy world. He doesn't have to align with us. He doesn't need a dime from black people ever. Okay, and this has nothing to do with the $100 million. He didn't need a dime from black people 15 years ago. Okay, so a good friend of mine, co-host of the Dope Dealer podcast, Jamal Dolman, comic. He told me a story of how, and he didn't think nothing of it at the time, but now that all this racial shit's come out, he remembered this night. So he was going to the Comedy Store to perform. He had a show in the Belly Room, which is, they got 3 rooms in the Comedy Store. That's the smallest room. So he had a spot in there, and he says, as he was getting to near the Comedy Store, there was nowhere to park. Everything was crowded. He was like, what the hell is going on? So he said he finds a spot, gets out the car, and he says, as he's walking up to the Comedy Store, there's hundreds of people in line. He said it's all young white dudes. A lot of them had skinheads, young white. He said it wasn't even hardly any women in line. And he said that he was walking up and he was like, damn, what's going on tonight? And finally, when he gets up to the front, he sees a sign. It's Joe Rogan. So what he said is that Joe Rogan's whole audience, there was like 500 people, and like 450 of them was young white dudes. Half of them had skinheads. He said it wasn't even no women. So there was no black people in line. So he caters. He had an all-male show, bro. These are the people that go see him. These ain't women. I mean, ain't a whole bunch of bitches going to see Joe Rogan. I mean, that's just not happening. So he doesn't need, he's hanging with those brothers that you talk about. So he knew one day all this shit would come out and he can go, I got some black friends. That's to throw motherfuckers off the real motherfucking shit he's been talking all this time.
Kobe, hold on. We're saying the same thing. We're saying the exact same thing.
No, but what I'm saying is you said he needs us. He don't need shit from, he ain't never needed shit from a black person. None of his shows, black people weren't going.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay. You make a good point. I'm going to say that. Then why did he apologize to us?
He didn't apologize to us. He apologized to Spotify. He just said us. He didn't give a fuck about us. If he'd gave a fuck, like I said, he would have talked. He'd apologized before he signed that contract. Once you get into the realm of $100 million, you know motherfuckers gonna find everything fucked up they can find. He should have got out in front of it.
That's fair. That's fair.
He apologized when this shit got. When somebody finally decided to edit it and put it all together. If that shit never would have happened, he never would have said a word.
That's fair. That's one way to look at it. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad.
He ain't apologized to us. He don't give a fuck about what we think.
But Toby, listen. I would argue that we're saying the same thing. I say that you and I are saying the same thing.
Well, no, I was just letting you know about the part of catering to, like, he don't need nothing from us. No, he don't need nothing.
And I would say this to you and Chris, that further fortifies his responsibility if he wants to align himself with black people, that he does have a responsibility. Because I will say this, I want the freedom to say whatever I want to say. Mm-hmm. I want to say slurs. If it's on stage, if it's on a podcast. My podcast is just an extension of my stage.
Okay. Well,
hold on, Toby.
Go ahead.
And I do agree with Chris, and I do agree with you, Toby, when I say my podcast is different, because I did a sitcom, and we say a whole bunch of questionable stuff and a social commentary. However, we did a podcast to explain what we're saying, to be like, look, don't trip. We're trying to educate y'all. So I do agree with that. And what I'm trying to say is Joe Rogan, we can't expect him and hold him to the standard to think that he has the same responsibility on stage that he has on the podcast. But I do agree with you, though. Ideally, ethically, he should. You should not, even though you have the right to say everything. This is what I wanted to say. If you know you're going to trigger someone with your words, then ethically, responsibly, you shouldn't say it. That's the bottom line. And I'm gonna push back a little bit, Toby, because in your diatribe, in your rant, you used the word bitch. You was like, bitches was there, and like, to some people be like, that's a trigger. You're doing a podcast, you're not on stage. You know what I mean? So, like, that's what I'm saying about protecting the craft. Like, should we be able to say bitches on?
That's nowhere near the same. That's nowhere near the same.
Nowhere near the same.
I'm saying, hey,
wait, hold on, Toby. It doesn't have to be the same.
Yeah.
Call you on that though. So,
well, they can call me on that. I'll accept that one, but I won't accept.
Should we be able to say
they won't be able to call me on saying nothing about Jews or saying nothing about?
No, I get it.
They won't be able to call me on nothing like that.
No, I get it, Toby. No, I get it. No, I'm not. I just want to say at the end of the day, I'm gonna ask you and Chris. Like, so we're doing this podcast, so we're speaking casually. So if we just like speaking casually, you know, trigger warning. This is an example. So should we be able to be like, hey man, there was hella bitches out there, and then the bitches did this, and this bitch came up to me and said, is that cool?
If that's who you are, that's cool. But I'm saying all of that type of shit.
I would say
ain't even my character anyway. But if that's somebody's character, that's cool. But what I'm saying is though, that's
what's that? No,
that's not the same. That's not the same as nigga, man. That don't even compare.
Here's the thing, though. At the end of the day,
that's not even. I mean, it's not even work. That doesn't compare. That's come on, bro. That's not the same.
At the end of the day, we all know people.
That's major, though, bro.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you can almost say. I mean, a person can say anything that's gonna damn near offend somebody, but his history and the shit that we're talking about, this is about Joe Rogan. This ain't about Toby Hicks and what I say and me saying bitch. This is about what he did. We got to keep the energy on what the fuck he did.
Okay.
Not on what we all could do. And it's like this. See, here's the thing too. Like when you said you would take the bag and all this, it's things like, okay.
I would.
But here's the thing, like I can see you saying that now, but as you just said yourself, you're not performing a whole lot. You haven't been. See, I've been on the road with big name comics, like where I've been working with them for years. And if shit like this occurred, you can't just say you would take the bag, because not only are you working with the motherfucker, you're basically living with them, because you're in the same hotel, you're riding in the same cars, you're eating at the same time. See, you got to sit there. You can't just say. Now, I wouldn't say I wouldn't, but you can't just say you can, because it ain't just you just show up at the show, do the show, and that's the only interaction. You on the plane with the motherfucker. It's the whole thing. Y'all got to be like family.
Let me clarify. I'm getting the bag.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Well, I mean, you got to. It's a lot more than. It's a lot of shit you got to endure to get that bag as opposed to just doing the show.
No, I hear you. Let me just make this point. When I get on stage, it's going to be a part of multiple bits. It's going to be, I'm going to get the bag, but it's going to be a part of multiple bits that I do. It is. And the thing is, bro, I make good money. I'm able to live in Seattle through the educational system. The educational system makes a lot of money off the oppression of Black and brown people. Period, point blank. We're just as influential, if not more influential, than law enforcement, because everyone goes through the school system. And I'm a part of that system. And I make good money. And if I'm not willing to block the bag from the school system that does more damage than a Joe Rogan or whatever do, because all our children mostly go through the school system. I'm not blocking that bag. Like a lot of people don't know, I'm an educator, but I always want to be an entertainer. I still, like, I'm sitting in a room that's one half a library, other half recording studio. I'm still making music. I wanted to be a rapper. I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, producer, writer, actor, all that. That's first and foremost. So I can only imagine the compromises and the sacrifices that people had to do and work for racist people to make it big in the industry. You know about that, Toby. You know.
Yeah, but like I say though, it's like I say, I see what you're saying, but it's easier said than done when you got to be with somebody for years. Right. You know, because you're spending You're spending more. I spent more time with comedians than I had my family.
Yep.
So it's a whole nother thing. You can't just say because it ain't as easy as it sounds like.
No, it's not.
It's not as easy as
I'm not trying to take away and be dismissive of anything you're saying.
But the bottom line is though,
more
man,
than me.
The bottom line is that, man.
But here's the thing: is that I would even
all he had to do is apologize when he signed that deal. Yeah. Got in front of the story. Said I did these episodes. This was 8 years ago. It was 10 years ago or some shit like that. And we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But homie, that was not his intentions because he don't give a fuck. And I guarantee you right now, I will bet everything I'll ever be able to come up with. Something tells me in my heart that if every black person that was friends with Joe Rogan just quit talking to him, I don't think it would bother him one bit. And I'm gonna leave it right there.
I agree with you. Chris, would you go on tour with Joe Rogan for a nice sum of money? Would you go on tour and would you open up for him?
No, I'm a relationship guy, so either way, I would have to. If I didn't connect with him, and that's how I work now. I mean, there's certain people that I work with now that I don't agree. I'm okay with the exposure, but I don't agree with the way their character and integrity are everything in this business. And you got to be ready to walk away from certain things that look like opportunities in order to maintain yourself. And there's this right off the back, I would say no. I'd have to have a conversation with him, see where his heart is, because at the end of the day, I can if I go on tour with him, I got to deal with him as a person. You know what I mean? And I've been with people. I'm going on my 9th year, right, of comedy right now, right? I've been around people. I don't agree with how they move. So I can't connect with them because it'd be too toxic and it would take me out of me. You know what I mean? In the early days when I was ignorant, certain stuff were appealing, but I'm like, nah, I'm good. And I've seen other comics say, oh, I'm hanging with so-and-so. And I'm like, I can't do that, man. Go ahead. Because I understand what their energy is about, what their character and integrity is about, and I can't do it. I just can't.
Then you gotta look at it like this too, man. Like seriously though. Like I said, it would depend on the relationship and whatever and how we worked it out. But it's just like, we've all heard it. All money ain't good money. And at this point, it might not be the best money. I ain't saying I wouldn't, but like I said, because it's more than just working with them. Because then you got to, like I said, you basically living together almost for 4 days out the week. So that's the whole thing too. So I don't know, it's just a tough call, man. Yeah. But like I said, I don't think he would care if none of his black friends ever called him again. It wouldn't bother him if all of them got mad. It wouldn't bother him one bit, man.
Toby, I think that is the most profound thing that we said in this whole podcast, and I think you're right. I'm confident you're right. I don't think he would care if none of his black friends
ever spoke to him again. And I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong, but that's just when I look into it. That's the individual I see he's just,
he's responsible for that. He's responsible for that energy out there. If you and I are Chris are wrong about that, I don't know how Chris feels about that. I agree with you. I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares enough. But if we're wrong, then he put that energy out there. He's responsible for that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what you and Chris are trying to say to Logic on Man. It's like, at the end of the day, if anything, that's his responsibility. If he's putting out the perception and energy that he doesn't care if any of his black friends are intimate, associates or whatever, care, if he doesn't care if they talk to him or not, that's major.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't. I could see, he was going with his life like nothing ever happened.
So what's the plan of action? So when we talk about Joe Rogan, his comments, when we talk about being a humorist and being a stand-up comedian in our craft, and when we talk about being responsible for what you say as we move forward, what's the plan of action?
Well,
I'll go.
I mean,
Go. You want to go first, Toby?
yeah, I'll go. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, to me, it ain't that. I mean, it ain't that serious when it comes to. I mean, like for Joe, like now people know, so it's up to them. They could decide on how they handle it going forth. If they want to listen to his podcast, or if they want to go to one of his performances, it's on them. You know, because he's been exposed, and that's all you could ask. Like the truth came out. It might have took some time, but it came out. So now it's up to the individual. You know, obviously shouldn't ain't no cancel nobody, whatever. Just it's up to the individual to make the decision. And the thing about it is that being someone who you know who's you know as sometimes in my career I was doing 20 shows a week and things like that. How you say, you know, 20, maybe even, I mean, sometimes even more than that. And the thing about it is like Logic, when you say that you should be able to say anything on stage, the honest truth is if you out there working every night, you're gonna know what to say on stage and what not to say. Your mind is not gonna let you go into say some shit that's just gonna hurt somebody because you're a different individual than Joe Rogan. You know what I'm saying? My mind, you know, when you out there, it's like, and sometimes you make a mistake. You know, I'll give you an example. One time I made a mistake, but I only did it one time. One time I was performing and the place was packed. It was like 300 people. And I was doing well. I was ripping. I was killing. All of a sudden I said, I don't know what made me say it or whatever, but it was a lady and a man. It was a couple in the front row. And I just happened, now I'm killing. And I look out there at the lady and I goes, and I wasn't even trying to be mean. I don't know why I did this, but I said, so when is the baby due? And her husband said, she's not pregnant. And the whole audience turned against me. Like from there on, I lost because now they're mad at me and I was wrong. But see, so the point that I'm making is that when you say it, that's why it's worth saying it on a podcast. Because when you say it in front of an audience, if you make a mistake there, an individual can check you at that moment. When you say it on a podcast, we had to wait 10 years to find out that shit was like that. So there's a difference. And people, they have a chance in public to check you or to accept it. And other times I've said things that might have been a little mean, but you know, I never had but you know, I felt bad, like, cause I went from ripping to making the audience mad at me. All because I said some shit, just, I don't even know why. But, and see, that's why I say it's the difference between people being there in front of your face and you thinking off the top of your head as opposed to sitting down and just go, well, you know, man, we went to the movie theater and everybody looked like apes. I mean, it was Planet of the Apes. We went to go see Planet of the Apes. It was Planet of the Apes. If he said that on stage, it wouldn't have been as bad. But when you say it just sitting down talking, then that's coming from the heart for sure. Like when I said that to that lady, I wasn't trying to embarrass her. I mean, I wasn't trying to call her fat. I mean, or anything like that. I just made a mistake.
Woo, those are some lessons.
All right, Chris, what's the plan of action as we move forward?
You know what? I think the plan of action is like what it should be. People have to think critically for themselves when they're taking stuff in, right? I mean, it's like, you know, I know in all this we've been talking about Joe Rogan, but I want to give like always respect for India Arie for being firm around her decisions. She didn't do it in a way where she was trying to attack him. It was the point of, she didn't even make it about Joe Rogan. It was about the views, his views that she would disagreed with, but she didn't like attack him. She was just really classy around, you know what? I don't agree with this, and this is what I'm going to do. And she just did it. And, you know, it wasn't a big thing. And I admire her example, you know, and, you know, and she gets a lot of flack for it. But I mean, I appreciate it because I feel like, you know, you have to, you know.
Flag.
I mean, she was basically saying too, is that okay, y'all paying us peanuts on the dollar. Y'all paying us a
Yeah.
small fee, but y'all taking the money that you make from us and giving this man $100 million to say all this ridiculous shit.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah. So I mean, I have
Love
Yeah.
India Irie.
Yeah, exactly.
That's enough to piss a motherfucker off. That's enough to piss a motherfucker off.
Right. And she did very classy too. She wasn't, and I always respect that about her.
Even if she didn't do it classy, it's still warranted.
Absolutely. There you go. Yeah.
And shout out, like Neil Young, he said, take my music down too. I mean, so it ain't even just, see, that's how you know it's fucked up when white people say take their shit down too. That's how you know. We know he wrong. White people saying he wrong. We don't have to say shit. White people say, oh man, take my shit down too. And then you know what make it so bad? These ain't young white people. These are 75-year-old white people. And we know that they come from real racism back then.
Right.
And they saying they ain't down with his ass. These ain't, it ain't like Eminem said, take my shit down.
Well, Neil Young said take the stuff down, not because he was saying the word nigger.
No, I know, but still, that was just part. I mean, yeah. I mean, we know, but I'm saying it's the compilation. But I'm saying that's a 75-year-old white man. He ain't even down, and that's where shit. We know how they feel in most cases.
My plan of action, so we can close out. Everyone share this, by the way. C Talk, share this and whatnot. My plan of action is have a backup plan for everything that you say, and have a clarification for everything you say. So me as a comedian, let me say this, who has directed, produced, and wrote a sitcom, always be able to not necessarily justify, but defend your art and know the difference between art form, commentary, and what is real. Those are three different things. Your art form, which is comedy, the commentary, which is the opinion, and then the reality of how all that stuff plays out in real life. Those are three different things. You should be willing and ready. And like Toby said, have it locked, stocked, and ready. Like, don't wait. Like already, like when you do a bit, have a commentary or have a follow-up to the bit already written saying this is why I did it, and these are the Easter eggs. These are the you know what I'm saying? These are the breadcrumbs. That's what I do. Like when you heard this is what we're trying to do. A perfect example is like the Carmichael show. I really like that show, but they do a really good job of addressing bigotry, racism, sexism, anti-gay stuff, and homophobia.
That's why they got that shit right off the TV. Go ahead.
You don't like it? You don't like?
No, I'm saying no. I know. I mean, I know Gerard. That's my guy. I remember him when he first, as a kid, showed up in LA. But my point is, that's why the show didn't last that long. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Is like it was so obvious of what they were doing. Like they were pointing out the stuff. They were exposing it. And
have you seen Gerard since then?
Nah, I haven't. And that's why I say I see it from y'all perspective. You know what I mean? Like Joe don't really do that. Joe has never done that. Joe has never said the word nigger or said some Planet Ape stuff or whatever, and then been like, yo, I got Dave Chappelle on the show. This is my guy. Let me, let's tap in and see what he thinks about what I said and da-da-da. And I'm gonna try to learn from him. Right. Because he knows that's not his audience. And that's another part of my plan of action is like know what people's audience is and figure out if you're a part of that audience or not. if they're speaking to you, and know who your audience is. And I think that the plan of action should be focused on your audience. Yeah, you can be distracting. You can go to a Joe Rogan, this, that, and the third. But for Chris and Toby, who is our audience? Who are we trying to influence? Who are we trying to educate? What's our movement? We can't be distracted from that. That's the most important thing. Damn, Toby.
Well, he probably just got, probably just got whatever. I know his system was bad, but I would say this though too. But I mean, you can't really. I don't know. Again, does the plan of action? I would say this. I was taught by my godfather that when adults make adult choices, you got to deal with adult consequences. And I feel like, for me, I feel like I'm responsible as the deeper I go as a comedian, and I know a lot of people at different levels, like Toby and beyond. I feel like you just got to be ready to deal with the consequences of your words, regardless of whether they're your audience or not. When you're dealing with the media, you got to be willing to like deal with the consequences and be able to, pay up if they come and talk to you about it in a way that's really authentic, or you're going to deal with the consequences. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
Hey
man, this has been a real good Seed Talk. Hey, everybody share this Seed Talk. Comment, get in the comments.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Hey man, let's do this again, Toby.
I'm down.
Yeah, hey,
hopefully it'd be something more pleasant. Hopefully Joe Rogan won't do nothing else. We can talk about something more pleasant.
It was pleasant, man.
It was a good conversation. I liked it.
I'm talking about, the topic ain't pleasant. Talking about, watching some white man say nigga is not pleasant.
Nah, man.
Planet of the Apes.
Hey,
shit, yeah.
Whoa, Chris, pause.
No, I'm saying Nick. Well, he did say the N-word in Planet of the Apes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Toby, real quick, man. I appreciate your contribution, man. I appreciate you, man. A brilliant mind, man. You helped me think and see it from a different perspective. Chris, thanks for bringing Toby on. And as always, Chris, man, you always dropping jewels. It's Seed Talk, stuff to make your seeds walk. We'll see you next time. Share this.